So the other day, I had a breakdown and I was in public and I was working and finishing up something, and there were people there and I didn't care. And what I did was I had to be an advocate for myself, and I stood up for myself. And the emotion that I felt was because I knew I had stood up for myself and spoke my truth to power. Didn't care about who was watching, who was listening in, how I looked. I cared that I was being for myself what I need in other people. Like I was always the one that people protected and like looked out for me because I always had a pure heart. So people would say, "Don't talk to Myesha like that." And I had relatives or sisters or family members that would defend me quite often. And I didn't have to verbalize when people were hurting me or when somebody was doing something wrong. I am the person that lets stuff go. Okay. You hurt me. I'm going to be like, well, I didn't like it, but I don't have to talk to you again. And that's going to be the end of it. You're never going to know how I really feel about you. You're never going to know that you actually hurt me. You'll just not see me. And that's how I moved much of my life. When I started doing my work, I discovered that I was still avoiding conflict in a lot of ways. And it was a part of my story and my trauma that I wanted to keep the peace. I wanted to keep everybody happy. And that meant being self-sacrificial. That means putting my needs on the back burner and speaking up for myself to keep the peace. And over the past 4 years or so, I've learned that I will not be at war with myself to make other people happy. And I started speaking my piece. Speaking my piece led to the end of my marriage. Speaking my piece led to the end of a lot of relationships. And it was so uncomfortable for me to be an advocate for myself. One of the hardest things I've ever had to do, but I learned is necessary. So I say what I need to say to this person. I didn't even mean to. I didn't even plan to. But in the moment, it came to me. It was the right thing to do, and I did it. And then I had to like bawl my eyes out because I just felt that I should have done this a long time ago. And maybe you're watching today and you're like me, who there's nothing wrong with avoiding conflict. There's nothing wrong with choosing to turn the other cheek. But there is something to not being able to speak up for yourself and what you need, and to let people know when they have offended you, when they've crossed a boundary. There's nothing wrong with that. And that's a skill that you really need to spend time developing, even if it hurts you to do, even if it costs you something, a friendship or relationship that wasn't for you in the first place. So I cried my eyes out. I had that moment. And I was a friend to myself. I was a protector of myself. And it felt good. It felt like a release. And I thought, you should be doing this all the time. So I'm here as your sister girl, your cousin, your auntie, your friend to say, start advocating more for yourself, especially when you are being mistreated, especially when people aren't valuing you the way that you deserve. And you may say, well, what does that look like? That might look like somebody at your job overlooking you when it's time for lunch. If they're doing something in the break room and everybody else gets a slice of pizza and yet no one asks you, or if they're dishing out gifts or doing something at work and you feel like you're always the one overlooked, it's okay to tell the person organizing the potluck that, hey, I'm an employee here. I would love to be a part of some of these. I would love to be invited. It's okay to say that. But we assume I'm not invited because I'm not wanted. I don't care about them. I don't need to be with them. I'm here just to make my money and leave. And I don't care what they do. That can also be true. Two things can be true. It can be true that you don't care about what they do and they still should respect you in your presence. See, I was the kind of person that I would look at the situation and go, yeah, I really going to order all this for everybody here and not ask me? Oh, okay, cool. And I would politely turn my headphones on and be sitting there working and doing my thing and enjoying my life and like, treat them like they're non-existent. But that prevented me from exercising my voice and saying, hey, I'm alive, I'm here. And whether they do it or not, when you advocate for yourself, when you speak up for yourself, it's not really for their actions to change. It's for you to put a demand on what you deserve. We think, well, what if they don't do anything about it? Now I got to deal with that. No, if they don't ask you in the future, at least you're clear that they're not asking on purpose. You're clear to me. But what I learned was I'm going to speak up for what rightfully belongs to me. I'm going to speak up for how I want to be treated. Listen, if you're going to talk to me, this is how I want to be talked to. And if you can't talk to me this way, this is a boundary, but I'm saying if you can't talk to me this way, then you no longer get access to my life. It's okay to say that to people and to wait for their response, to see how their response is, and then to move accordingly. I am encouraging you today to exercise your voice, to be an advocate for yourself, to speak your piece without regard of what the people do. Your words aren't to control and influence people. Your words, this is for the people who need to speak up, are for you to know that you have the power to be an advocate for yourself. Your words help put in the atmosphere what your priorities are, what your desires are. It's up to that person to hear you and to do something differently. For me, my greatest benefit, my greatest payback in speaking up for myself was for me to build alliance and trust with me. For me to know if I'm out at the airport and 5 people go ahead of me and no one is like in the taxi line, I'm like, wait a minute, I'm next. Old me would have let 5 people go. Keep going, and I'm still waiting. No, wait a minute. Is there order here? Because I've been waiting. I'm next in line. No, you gotta wait. It's okay. It's okay to do this. It's safe out here. I'm just telling you, it's safe. Let me know in the comments, how have you struggled with speaking up and owning your voice? How well do you advocate for yourself? Let me know. I want to hear from you. We're all in this together. We're all trying to find our way home. I can't wait to read your comments. I'll see you soon.